Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 6 of season 5 of the Unbounded Artistry podcast. Today, we'll be diving into batch content. As creators, did we find a new way to save some time? Also, touching on our video series approach. So, we're going to be maybe solving the issue of having a cohesive channel. And maybe we'll also be getting a little bit more organized along the way. We found something new that we'd like to talk about. And we would like to know your feedbacks on, or your feedback on the live stream of the Unbounded Artistry podcast. Roll that intro.
Yeah.
Please, hurry, please. This
Okay, and we're back.
And this one's gonna be very interesting. I don't know. Okay.
We're both a little overtired.
Just a little, but we'll get through it. We will get through it.
Yes.
So, do you want to take over the first topic?
Sure.
I need to just relax for a minute.
So, first topic we're talking about is batching content. Vids on vids on vids. So when it comes to making video content or just content in general, we always seem to be battling against the clock. As you can tell, since we were 2 hours late for this stream of the podcast. During our time away from streaming and content creation and everything, we spent a lot of time discussing how to be more efficient with our time, and we decided to try content batching. If you've ever heard of meal prepping, it's kind of the same idea, but with content. So the new workflow is shooting for a few videos back to back, then work through edits for them, and then finally post the videos. And what we're going to discuss is why we're trying the approach, if we're going to save time, save energy, what our thoughts are. I think we just have a problem.
Yeah.
We just have a problem with time. There's never enough of it. And also energy. There's never enough of that either.
Definitely a deficit of energy.
And we've been going on these walks every night, and like we have these really long discussions of what we're doing, what we could do better, like what we could try. And we thought that maybe batching content would be a good idea because when we do have time, it's like a condensed amount of time. So we're like, okay, if we could just kind of shoot a bunch of videos instead of start, stop, like shoot the video, edit the video, do whatever, like it's too much of that. So we're thinking if we can just use that span of time to like create as much content as we possibly can, and then we can kind of take our time to edit it. Maybe that will be better. I don't know.
So I think like the approach is kind of to also keep you kind of in that same mindset. So when you are like filming like a bunch of different videos like back to back to back, you're still in that like creative kind of mindset versus going from like the creative like what are we going to be like doing and how do we kind of execute this idea better, and trying to transition that to, oh, we got to edit this and we have to meet all these different requirements that we kind of have set up for ourselves, and then trying to shift back into maybe we can get one more video done today, and then trying to get back into that creative space again. So it's supposed to help keep kind of like a similar level of kind of thought process and energy in that space versus trying to kind of navigate through like keep changing like what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because we've talked about this before, not specifically about videos, but like more about like drawing. There'd be times where like you would start a drawing, like say you were in school and you're drawing something and you have to stop and then start again in another class. Whenever you come back to that drawing, it doesn't look right. Like it doesn't look the same. Like the texture of the pencil or like the pressure on the pencil or the technique that you're using is always slightly different and
Yeah.
slightly off. So when you kind of get out of that flow state of creating something, it doesn't flow right. So I think you're right. Like if we are just creating videos like in one span of time, we're going to be more in that like mindset. It'll make it kind of easier probably too.
I hope.
And then like the editing, like that's kind of what we did for this like last round of videos is like I created some motion graphic stuff or whatever and started to apply it to one video, and then I was like, okay, now I'm going to edit the next one and the next one, and it was just easier. Like the more that I did, it was easier because I'm like, okay, I just did this, I know what I want to do here, and it does flow better. It's like a better way to work instead of like, because like you lose focus too, and it's just, they always say like if you have to stop for anything, like even if you're like at work and you have to stop for a meeting or something, it takes you that much longer to get on track. Or if you've stopped to read an email, it takes you like that much longer to get back into like the mindset you were. And it's a waste of time. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I think it will. But I guess we'll have to see how it kind of plays out. Like we kind of only just started kind of dipping our toes into this process, but I think we'll have a lot more to say once we kind of fully get into it.
Yeah. And see how well it works. But
yeah, because the other thing too that we're going to try to do is kind of batch similar types of things as well. So like if we're doing like maybe like an art project or something like that, we'll try to do just a couple of different types that day and try to get that all filmed.
Yeah. Because that's the other thing, is just because we're so short on time and energy, sometimes when even though we want to create and we want to be creative and make art and things like that, the thought of having to pull everything out and then create something, and then the thought of the cleanup and everything afterwards kind of stops us from wanting to do it. But if we're doing like multiple things at one time, maybe it'll feel a little bit easier. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out when it comes down to it. But yeah, that's kind of like the new approach that we're going to try to take. And from everything we've seen so far, it seems like a really good kind of plan forward.
Yep. We can comment more on it like when we've really like dug into it.
Yeah, probably like another, like I'd say like a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
So the next topic is creating video series. May I have some more, please? So we're also trying a new series-based approach when it comes to our videos. This should give us a better foundation to come up with ideas for our videos, and it should also help with what a viewer can expect when they kind of land on our channel. We kind of been doing this already with like the creative corner videos that we have, and also the flora and fauna videos. But we kind of want to dig in and kind of figure out a few more different types of series to create. One thing that we kind of noticed is that our channel is lacking some video game content. And so one of those new series that we're going to launch is kind of playing through some creative video games. During the latest Steam sale, we picked up a handful of games, and we also owned a few as well. But just kind of give you an idea, we've picked up, oh man, how do we say this one again?
Passepartout,
The Starving Artist, House Flipper, Chicory, It Takes Two, The Sims, Abzu, Minecraft. So those are just some of the titles that we have. We have a whole list of other games that we're going to try to cover as well. What other types of series do you think we're going to kind of dig into?
Besides the game stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what we've been trying to figure out is, I think we have been trying like a lot of different things on our YouTube channel for a long time, and our content is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, lately it's been a little bit more focused, but still kind of.
Yeah, I think it's like hard for us to grow because if somebody finds a video of ours that they do like, they subscribe, but then the next video has nothing to do with it. It's like completely different. So we were thinking maybe if we do these kinds of series and maybe we release like a couple in a row or something like that, it would make more sense to somebody that was like subscribing. But we want to make sure that it's all still like related to art as well. We've done like a bunch of like unboxing videos, and I guess that's kind of its own series, but we want to make like more like actual creative content. So I think the video game, but like creative video games like approach is good. I think we'll still do more like flora fauna, but we're talking about maybe taking a little bit of a different approach to those as well, and also still doing creative corner, but a little bit of a different approach to that too. So we're just originally doing for the creative corner the time lapses and having our original music played underneath it. But the last one we did, we took a little bit of a different approach and just kind of talked about why we love abstract art and things like that. So I think we'll still be doing time lapses, but instead of it just being music, maybe there'd be like an additional piece to it, like us talking about something or giving advice about something and more commentary, I guess. But beyond that, I'm not sure. We're still trying to figure it out. Did you have like ideas or thoughts?
There was that one idea I had. I don't know, where it'd be like trying like new forms of art or crafts that we haven't done before.
Yeah, we did talk about that, like maybe doing like a series of trying like.
Yeah, because we still haven't done the acrylic pour stuff, like, and we've never done that before. So that would be like, it could be like the kickoff of like a new series of that.
Yeah, like a we try this series
Type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Because you might come across something that you've never done before and you actually really like as well.
We were also talking about, do I talk about this?
I don't know what it is.
I'm just going to start, and you stop me if you want to start me. So start me if you want to start me. Stop me
I'm
if
confused.
you want to
So
stop me.
what am I supposed to do?
I don't know. You tell me to start or stop.
Start.
Okay. So
Pause.
One of the other things, the problem is like there's so many things that we want to do. There's just never enough time to do it. But one of the things that we were talking about is, and we kind of got back into this a little bit with the last few videos before we kind of disappeared. But like getting back into doing our skits. I think what we've decided is that our skits are going to live on a different channel. But what we could possibly do, that's all I'm going to say about that. But what we were thinking to do is like if we're going to make props or costumes or something for the skits, like that kind of behind the scenes, like creativity of actually creating those things would be on the Tealfish channel. And like we would show kind of like, oh, okay, we made this prop for whatever. If you're interested in watching the video itself, it'll be here. And vice versa.
Yeah. I think that's about as far as we'll go with that.
Yeah.
But we don't know when that's gonna happen either, so
it's just something that we've been kicking around a little bit.
Yeah. We're trying to get back on track first, so.
Yeah. Little steps at a time.
We always have lots of plans and just trying to figure out how to execute on all of them.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
But we will see. But we were thinking maybe if we're between the batching and like the series approach, like maybe it'll make it a little bit easier for us to be consistent.
Yeah.
And like keep up with like making the type of content that we want to do.
And also some of this content will actually come from like the streams as well. So
Yeah, like
that should also help.
We'll be doing like the video games on stream and everything too.
Mm-hmm.
So that should be fun. All right, getting organized. Notes on notes on notes. So when running our business, we're always looking for ways to save time and stay organized. I guess it's like the theme of this podcast.
Yes.
Last weekend, we spent pretty much the whole time figuring out how to use Notion and creating a workflow that works for us. If you're not familiar with Notion, it's a web-based organization tool that can be highly customized to manage your business or even everyday life. They're not a sponsor. We're not affiliated with them. We've never had any like contact with them. We're just sharing our experience using the platform so far. We're going to talk about what we're doing now and then what we've done in the past and why this should be better.
So basically, how we would track our video ideas and stuff like that is we'd have like a couple different things in Google. So we'd have like the Google Docs and then the Google Sheets, and we'd have like a list of ideas. Then we would kind of track those in a sheet, like basically kind of like an Excel sheet. If you don't use the Google programs. And we would have to just kind of go through and try to keep track of everything there. And a lot of times, like, we didn't know how far along something was or if it was even completed, because if we don't update it, it just leads to a very cluttered kind of mess to look at.
Yeah.
And then we'd also try to kind of keep track of it separately and like a Google Calendar. So trying to keep like all these different things kind of up to date and organized and at their current status is just kind of overwhelming, and a lot of it just never stayed up to date. We always kind of have to go back and change everything, and then we'd also kind of just restructure the whole thing a lot of times, and it just got more and more like busy and difficult to actually see what was going on.
Yeah. We tried our best to like try to use the tools to make it really organized, but it's I don't know, just the way that it works, it's just not really useful for what we were trying to use it for. We even tried to make like spreadsheets and stuff too.
Like it was useful when the things we were doing were like a lot less, but when you start to add a lot to it, it just doesn't scale correctly.
Yeah.
It just gets very messy very fast.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out what we could do to try to make it more organized. Like Brandon was saying, we also we still use it, the Google Calendar, and like I tried to do like blocking of time on the Google Calendar. We're like, okay, this time we're working on this time we're working on that, but like to keep our projects like in progress organized, like that's not enough. And at my job, like I do a creative job, so we started using the Agile methodology. I don't know if anybody's heard of this, but it's like a Kanban board. I don't know if this makes sense to anybody that's listening, but it's basically like it's a project management tool. So like it basically organizes your projects so that you can see the details of the project, when it's due, who's working on it, what stage it's in, and like you can kind of use it as there's a visual way to see like how it's moving through the progress. Like if you're at the idea phase, there's like a column where your little box is in the idea phase, and then when you're actually working on maybe writing a script, it goes to the next phase and things like that. And it's, even though it's a lot of work to keep updated, it keeps you really organized. You always know where the project is, you know who's working on it. If something's held up, you can address it right away. And I was like, this would actually be really helpful for what we do, like outside of like my job, like for just the Tealfish Studio stuff, not just like the videos and content creation, but also for working like on a project for a client or something like that. That would be super useful. So I started researching to see what programs out there had something similar to it, but like a lot of them like limit what you're able to do on a free basis. Like you have to pay into the program, and it's just really expensive for something that you're just using as an organizational tool. And I found Notion, and Notion isn't just for stuff like that. Like you can build basically anything you want and organize anything you want with it. It's very like modular. So I basically tried to recreate what we use at work. So that like we could use it for ourselves. And then I ended up just, as like I was organizing it with filling in our projects and stuff like that, I just kept cutting back, and I was like, we don't need this. Oh, we don't actually need this. Oh, we don't actually need this. So it actually is way more simple compared to what we do at work. So it works really good for us and like what we're doing for our content. So I'm excited. I think it will help us to keep things organized and know where everything is. And it gives you like a depository for all of your ideas. It has like a content calendar, so you can put like when things are due, and it's just a nice way to visually see everything. So I don't know. What do you think about it so far? Because I'm used to this kind of a thing, so this is new for you, but I don't know what you think of it so far.
Yeah, I don't really have any prior experience to using anything like this. Like when we were first setting it up, like I was very confused. Like it took me like pretty much like a day to kind of like see what it was like about, and it was also confusing because we were trying to like get it set up too, so that didn't really help. But kind of like taking that day and then like digesting it overnight and coming back, like it made a lot more sense. And I think the thing I like about it right now is that it's kind of a balance between being really organized but also being really quick to do. So it's not taking up like a lot of time, because the way we have it set up is just basically we put like all of our notes underneath that project, so everything's just together in one spot. And then we also have like check boxes for different things that we need to check off. So it's just really easy to run through and then just update the status and then complete the project.
Yeah, it's nice because everything is like in one place instead of having a calendar in one spot and then a list of ideas in one spot, and like it's all together, and you have the ability to create different views of the same information so that you can see it on a calendar, or you can see it in a list. You can like open up a document that's connected to it, and you can even add we haven't done this yet, but like if there's, say we're working on like a design project, you can add like visual like resources, like everything can be attached directly into it, which is awesome. You can filter everything, and then like say we're working on the same project but I'm doing one part of it and he's doing a different part, like we can go in and like put notes of like, oh okay, I've completed this is ready for you or whatever. Even though it's just the two of us, like if we're sitting at our own workstations, it makes it a lot easier to just keep working and then just put like notes, and then whenever we're ready to like go back to it, we can.
Yeah.
And then we don't lose track, and then it lets you create templates. So we built out templates for every different type of content that we have to create, things for clients, things for commissions, all of that is built in. So we have everything laid out, everything that we would need for each project is kind of set up. Even like for the podcast today, we made a checklist of like, okay, what our delay was we had to figure out the lighting, and we had to figure out which lens we were using for the camera and how to connect it to the stream, and we were having an issue with like the audio lagging and stuff like that in the document. And I updated the template, and I'm like, okay, check this, check this, check this. These are the settings that you need to have. That way the next time it should be a lot easier and more efficient. And then we can also put all of our ideas for the podcast and everything in there. So it just makes it really easy to use, and it's just nice. I still don't know how we're going to transfer all the stuff from all of our Google Docs into it, because there's ideas everywhere. We have
A little
so
bit at a
many.
time.
We have so many. And they're all in like different spots. And I was like, I was going to try to consolidate those at some point until we found this. And I'm like, okay, now we got to put everything in Notion instead. I'm pretty happy with it. It took a lot to figure out how to get it to work the way that we wanted it to work. And I had to use like a lot of like custom codes and coding and stuff in it. But it's functioning pretty well right now. So I'm happy with it. It's just the initial setup took a long time.
Yeah, it took us like a weekend.
Yeah. I think it'll be helpful. I'm excited to use it. We've already been using it this week, and I feel like it's already starting to help.
With the new format of the podcast, we still wanted to dig into any questions, any subtopics that you may have for us. Currently, we're thinking of making a channel point reward strictly for the podcast for any questions or comments that you would like us to address while we're live. This would highlight the message and make it easier for us to identify it. Yeah, we're just looking for ways to incorporate some community questions and feedback into the podcast. So, I don't know. It's just kind of an idea we had.
Yeah, just let us know what you think about that, because we used to just do the podcast completely offline, and then we decided to start doing it live, but it's been kind of a learning curve to figure out how to still get through the topics that we need to get through, but also like still participate with the chat and stuff like that. So we figured this would be a good way to do it. We don't want to just like plow through all of the topics without addressing anybody, but it's also hard to kind of manage the two at once. So we figured this would be a good idea to have, like, if you want to participate in the conversation, then we can have the messages highlighted in that way. We would make them like really cheap.
Yeah, it'd be not.
It's just more of a way for us to like.
Yeah, it's just like, hey,
manage it.
look at my message.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of hard to find the balance of like, you know, the topics and like talking to you guys, because it's like we're trying to also make sure that what we record like works as a standalone podcast too.
Yeah.
Because this goes up on all those like podcast places. I don't know what you call them. Podcast delivery service sites or hosting places.
Yeah, because we put it on YouTube, but then there's also just the audio component, so we want the audio component to like make sense.
Yeah.
So it's just we need to find a better structured way to do that, so that like if somebody's listening and they're like, what are they talking about?
Yeah. So the other thing to that is we'll probably be like addressing it like so and so from Twitch chat, like just so people are understanding like where this is coming from.
Yeah.
It's just not like out of the blue.
Yeah.
So just a heads up.
So that's something we'll work on. And then I think we need to disable all of we have to get better about updating that like before the podcast goes live, is like disabling a lot of the other channel redeems, because they don't work during the podcast, because it would just be too disruptive.
Yeah, because the visuals go on YouTube.
Yeah.
So.
And if it's a shark, I will scream and duck under the seat.
We don't want that. But overall, it's going to be a learning process, and we'll get better as we go along.
Yeah. So hopefully after today, we have the correct setup all good, and we should actually be sort of on time next week.
For at least the podcast.
So
I don't think we really tried out the other setting.
I don't know if are we gonna talk about that today?
No, not today.
Okay, so we won't talk about
that.
We
won't talk about that today.
We'll talk about that next time.
Maybe.
But like as we kind of get back into things, it's probably gonna be slow to start, just because we're still trying to figure out how to do everything and like make it look nice and get it to work correctly.
Yeah, and efficiently.
Yes. But we're trying to be committed to make sure that we're consistent. Even though we're probably going to be late, we'll still be here.
We'll most definitely be late.
Yeah.
But we'll try to at least do what we
be
need
less
to do.
late.
Do what we need to do.
Yeah.
So.
But I think that's kind of it.
Yeah.
That we had to discuss this week. Just kind of some updates on what we're trying to do to make our processes better.
Yeah, kind of a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But also good stuff to share.
Yeah. I think as we kind of dig into this stuff more, we can have more comments on how it works.
Yeah. Hopefully we finally found a winning combination.
I hope so. And then we can always like revisit this topic and kind of talk about like, okay, how did this work? And then if it's something that works really well and then you're all interested in it, we can kind of go into more detail about the specifics. I don't know if I explained
I mean, at that point,
well,
it may just turn into just
like a video,
an actual video.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is like if people are like, "Oh, actually, I'm really interested in this," then we can just make like a more comprehensive video about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wrap.
I think that is a wrap. So thank you for watching or listening. If you're watching on YouTube, you can always listen on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or Google Podcasts. And if you're listening, you can always watch the video on youtube.com/tealfishstudio, or you could even catch us live over on Twitch at twitch.tv/tealfishstudio. Thank you again.
Yes. And until next time, may your artistry always be unbounded. Bye.
Bye.